Derek Brunson, Kevin Holland.
So
what's your first take? What's your pick straight off before we get into it?
Kevin Holland.
Kevin Holland.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair.
And we talked about it. Well, literally, we've just talked about it. The unorthodox nature of some people, which he is very unorthodox and fast and very long. Three things that sort of complement each other, is going to cause some problems. But it causes him problems in that I can never imagine him as the champ.
Holland? Is that because Adesanya is the current champ, though? Or is that just general?
Just the way, I just can't, he's too unpredictable to string together the amount of wins he's going to need to be the champ.
Okay, expand upon that. Well,
it's like we're sort of saying about the herky-jerky movement, although I do feel like he's one of the better ones that has unpredictable and unorthodox striking.
Yeah.
And I think the reason I think he's better is because of the other two factors that come into it, that he's quick and that he's long as well.
Okay.
So he punishes people more when they don't quite get his rhythm. Does that make sense?
It does, yeah. Well, kind of like Darren Stewart, it was like Stewart, he was struggling to predict what he was doing, which meant he was getting caught with things, waiting to land his own shots.
Yeah.
I understand what you're saying. At the same time, I think there is a real strength in the way that he fights. And I think after seeing him stop Jacare with ground and pound from the bottom, like he's got that kind of ball and chain whipping power, which I think works really well from him being very loose. I mean, you look at Johnny Walker. I mean, I know Johnny Walker's kind of fell off a little bit, but the unpredictability and the angles that he was coming at was one of the things that made his game so good. Yeah,
the way he used that sling, that the way your fascia and your muscles sling across to move his hips and whip that hand across to knock out Jacare was
it was weird, wasn't it?
Man,
very cool.
Have you ever seen that before?
No, not from that position. No, for sure, and not to generate that kind of power to make someone as good as Jacare sit back on their heels dazed.
But this is sort of what I'm saying. With these unpredictable guys, you'll get magic moments. But are you going to get the routine things that make you a champ? You didn't get magic moments from GSP necessarily. You had, he was religiously good at the basics.
Yeah. So what are you saying? So
I think he'll win this one. Huh? I think he'll win this fight.
Yeah,
I think there's enough.
Yeah.
Derek, there's enough space for him to do some serious damage. I just don't know whether, aside from this fight, whether he can run all the way to the title or not.
Yeah, see, it's like Derek Brunson's got power in his hands. Like we've seen that, and we've seen the power in his hands because he's committed to his strikes and he's thrown with everything he's got. Sometimes it's backfired. When he fought Whittaker, he was all over Whittaker for the most part of that round. A couple of minutes, and then he left himself vulnerable and ran onto a shot. Now he's working with Henry Hooft. You can see that Hooft's kind of tidied things up and trimmed the excess off a lot of his shots.
Lungy, isn't he?
Yeah, he's very lungy. Yeah. Part of the reason for that though is because of his wrestling pedigree. He is a good wrestler. He's a strong wrestler. That is the backup plan when his striking doesn't work. But then he came into the Adesanya fight and wanted to wrestle immediately and couldn't get the takedown, and then felt incredibly uncomfortable. You could see how uncomfortable he was, and I don't think he'd be any less comfortable stand in front of Kevin Holland if he can't take him to the floor. The difference being, if he's able to take Kevin Holland down, he's still not out of danger. Whereas if he'd have taken Adesanya down, he would have been. So it was very black and white in the Adesanya fight. It's I either take him down and I'm okay, or I don't and I've got problems.
Yeah.
The Kevin Holland fight, I take him down and I've still got problems.
Yeah, it's just a different problem.
Strike him from the bottom, brown belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu under Dave Terrell, who was a UFC champion as well.
Sorry to interrupt. Who did he put someone in a triangle and throw some elbows from the bottom? And it sounded like he was beating a drum.
Yeah,
It was ooh.
Yeah.
I can't remember who it was.
Let me see if I can look at his record.
He sort of got him in a half triangle. He could just about pop his head out of the triangle, couldn't he?
Yeah.
And he almost it was like whack-a-mole. He pretty much just whacked his head back out of the triangle.
Yeah. I don't remember which one it was. He's had a lot of fights in the UFC still. I like Kevin Holland. I think there's a lot of dynamic ability to his game, which I think would make Derek Brunson really uncomfortable. Like Brunson, like even you go back to the Shabazian fight, and for the start of that fight, Shabazian was causing him problems. You could see Brunson was starting to look uncomfortable because he circles along the fence towards his left, and he's like trying to get away from his opponents. Then he'll lunge in a bit, or he'll throw his straight left, and then he'll clinch. But Shabazian was making him look very uncomfortable until he got to that top position, started landing ground and pound.
Yeah,
I definitely think Brunson's got the ability to, to get the fight to the floor. I don't think he's got the ability to nullify Kevin Holland when he's there. Because Holland will put himself in bad positions. He'll invert, he'll attack an ankle, he'll scramble to take the back, or he'll strike you from really odd positions, which, if you're Brunson and you're trying to hold him down, if then his main focus becomes just holding him down and burying his head in his chest, end up getting stood up.
Yeah.
Like Holland's not going to Holland's not going to tie him up and wait. Holland will be slapping him and hitting him and attacking. And if it just gets to the stage where Brunson's just holding on for dear life because he doesn't know how else to deal with it, the referee will keep standing him up. And that every time gives Kevin Holland even more confidence for his kung fu.
And when they're back standing, Brunson lets himself get hit quite a lot. Like a lot of people land, he's not always knocking him out, but Kevin will knock him out if he lets one of those high kicks, head kicks come through. He's going to get it's going to be a short night.
Yeah.
The only thing I say maybe in Derek's favour is he doesn't seem phased. I don't know whether he's been in there for quite a long time and he's been around. He doesn't seem too phased about whatever's in front of him. I don't think he's going to be like,
Yeah, maybe not. I mean, I think he's kind of reassured himself in his last few fights. So he's on a 3-fight win streak now, isn't he? And he came in as the underdog against Shabazian, and Shabazian's a long range, talented striker. But then the Heinisch in the Theodoro fight saw the same characteristics, like he'll circle away and then he'll lunge in and attack.
Yeah.
I like the flow of Kevin Holland, and I think a lot of unpredictables come from that. And I just don't think Derek Brunson's going to like being on the end of his strikes, regardless.
No, I don't. Yeah, I don't. I think it's Holland's to win, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
for
so.
sure.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, Derek Brunson might have improved again, because he is training with Henry Hooft, but it's only gonna the refinements in his game at this stage are going to be minimal. I don't like Henry Hooft's not going to give him a kickboxing skill set. Like Derek Brunson's always going to be a left-hand power striker that throws that left hand over and over again and then clinches and wrestles.
Yeah.
If he hits the floor, keep Kevin Holland tied up and crack him with those elbows, because that was the game changer in the Shabazian fight, was that left elbow that cut him under the eye.
Yeah, interesting puzzle.
Fight.
Holland is an interesting puzzle, isn't he?
He is, yeah. He is. And I mean, so let's play a little game then. As you said, like this, if it's not a consistent style for Kevin Holland, who's currently ranked at number 10, let's look at, if you go up the fights above him, who does he lose to? Like Uriah Hall's up next.
I mean,
like you could see him winning that one.
I can see him. Yeah, I can see him both. I can see him getting caught by Uriah's horrible power, but
yeah,
I can see him winning.
I can see him just kind of overwhelming him and crowding Uriah, because Uriah likes time and space to set up his techniques, and he's a crisp striker, whereas Holland's a flow state striker, and the crisp strikers sometimes get overwhelmed by the flow state striker, Dan Ige, Calvin Kattar, for example. Gastelum, I think, is an interesting fight for him, given the fact that Gastelum's just lost by heel hook recently, and the fact that Kevin Holland is long and awkward, and like Gastelum does well against guys.
Don't you make me pick against Gastelum.
I would never.
Don't you make me pick against him.
Gastelum head harassed.
Yeah.
Do you see the photos of them together? Oh man, they're like little clones.
Wow, that's some serious domage between those two, isn't there?
Like Derek Brunson's next. Then above him, you've got Jack Hermansson, Marvin Vettori, Darren Till, Cannonier, Costa, Whitaker, and then Adesanya
Costa's
at the
pulled
top.
out again.
Of course he has.
Too much Sauvignon Blanc.
Give himself
it was red wine, wasn't it?
Give himself a hangover.
Yeah. No, I get what you're saying. I can see him definitely competing with Hermansson, Vettori, Till, Cannonier.
It gets interesting when it gets up to Costa, Whittaker, and Adesanya.
I see what you're saying.
But then you go like I don't think Paulo Costa's ever going to beat Adesanya. I think he would struggle generally against Rob Whittaker. But then again, I think Kevin Holland might struggle with Paulo Costa a little bit. He might get walked down and just kind of overwhelmed a bit. I don't know whether Kevin Holland's striking's precise enough, maybe, to turn the corner at the very top with Whittaker and Adesanya.
Yeah. It's certainly, with the unorthodox nature and unpredictability, it does create space to be punished, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And those guys at the top will punish you. But as you go through that, man, he's a top five. He's a top five dude, probably, isn't he?
I think so.
He should be able to compete with those guys. I think
so.
He's a rough night for Hermansson and Vettori, and maybe even Darren.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, argue, Daniel.
That's what I do.
You make a good case.
That's what I do. So which way you go? Holland.
Yeah. I'd stick with Holland. I can't really see it any other way. If it is another way, it's a very boring way. I would think, but yeah.